Jumbo Brothers, let's talk about clothing for bushcraft and survival trips. Basically, I took military principles and adapted them for civilian use, for regular people who just love going to the woods. I'm going to break it all down for you in detail. We will go through every single layer, and I am pretty sure that after this video you won't have any questions left. Okay, so here's the deal. I started with a military clothing system as my base. But here is the thing. I am not in the military, right? And I don't have to follow all their rules. So I took that system and I kinda tweaked it for my own needs. I don't use every single layer exactly by the book. I made my own combo, something simple and more suited for regular civilian life. I think my version could be useful for you too. So I'm gonna walk you through what I came up with. Maybe you will get some ideas and can build your own perfect kit. Alright, let's start from the very beginning, with the first thing you put on, the base layer. The base layer, or as it's sometimes called, the first layer, it's what you put on your bare skin. In simple terms, it's your t-shirt and underwear. And here is a crucial point. If you make a mistake choosing this very first layer, all the other clothes you put on top will not work properly. You will mess it up right from the start. So, what does it do? It has a couple of jobs. First, it has to be comfortable. Just feel nice against your skin, so it doesn't chafe, itch or cause any irritation. And second, this is the main part, each job with sweat. It needs to absorb that sweat really fast and just as quickly transfer it to the next layer, so it can evaporate there. Here is what I mean. The base layer pulls moisture from your skin and push it out, all to keep you dry. And this is exactly why we immediately rule out anything made from cotton. Here is the thing. Cotton, yes, it absorbs moisture really fast. But the whole problem is that it takes forever to dry. Let me paint you a picture. If your base layer is cotton, you sweat, your t-shirts get wet, and it just stays wet for a long time. So what happens? You end up walking around in a wet t-shirt and wet underwear constantly. So cotton is no-go for us. So for a base layer, you always want to go with synthetic materials. Personally, I use t-shirts from Patagonia. They are made from recycled polyester. And here is what is great about them. It dries incredibly fast, stretches really well. It weighs almost nothing. And on top of all that, it has outdoor protection. The quality of this t-shirt is just top-notch. Well, I think those who are familiar with the Patagonia brand know exactly what I'm talking about. I mean, these are genuinely high-quality things. I personally think they're one of the best on the market, and paying for this level of quality, it's worth it. Okay, a quick but important thing. All the gear I'm going to show you, I will leave links for it. You will be able to find everything easy. Now let me be clear, I am not earning anything from this. These are just direct links to the official websites. Whatever you buy there or look for a better price somewhere else, that's up to you. And just to be clear, I haven't tried every single piece of clothing from Patagonia. I can only talk about what I've used myself and what's been tested. Maybe some of the other stuff isn't as good or comfortable, I don't know. So I think you get my main point. I only recommended what I personally use. So back to this t-shirt. So it doesn't look super ultra fashionable. And you know what? I don't need it to. Because in the woods, on a trip, what is much more important to me is functionality. It needs to be comfortable, dry and practical. What it looks like is way down on the list. So here is how it looks on me. And as you can see, it doesn't stop me from being incredibly sexy at all, especially when it comes to my, let's call it my confident physique. When it comes to underwear, the exactly same rules apply as with the t-shirt. But I want to point out one thing. There is a special clothing that's called a compression effect. It's often sold as performance sportswear, like it's made for serious workouts. So here is my advice. Before you buy something like that, make sure you try it out in practice. For me personally, it's extremely uncomfortable. Why? Because compression clothing squeeze your body, it compresses your muscles. And yes, it works great if you are going for a workout at the gym. For a couple of hours, it's perfect. But going on a long trip in clothing like that wouldn't be very comfortable, at least for me. Let's even consider overnight stays. You go to sleep and your body needs to rest and recover. But if you are wearing compression underwear, your muscles will be constricted all night. They won't be able to truly relax and recover. Now, clothing made from mesh fabric has also become popular. I've seen a lot of YouTube videos with very positive reviews about it. Here is where I can't say anything, because I haven't tried this kind of clothing myself. I just want to make you aware this type of underwear also exists. And if you get a chance to try it, or if you already tested, please write in the comments how it is, do you like it or not. Now let's move on to the second layer. This is the insulation layer. I use a standard military-grade insulating layer made of fleece. And to be honest, I haven't found anything better for myself. It's really comfortable to move on, it doesn't pinch or press anywhere, so for me it's just maximum comfort. And of course, the most important thing, I look very sexy in it too. So what is the main advantage of this grid fleece material? It's simple. First up, warmth. It's an excellent insulator. The fabric structure traps your body heat. It holds a layer of warm air close to you. Second, it breathes. When you are active and sweating, it pulls that moisture away from your skin. Third, it's lightweight. Fourth, it dries fast. If it gets wet, it will dry much faster than wool or cotton. So here is the most crucial part. This is where the main principle comes into play. Think of it like this. You put on your base layer on the right against your skin. That means any sweat will be absorbed by that first layer and not stay on your skin. And this is where our fleece gets to work. It has a double job. On one hand, it keeps you warm, but on the other hand, it acts like a pump. It pulls that moisture away from your base layer and moves further out. That creates a moisture-wicking chain. The sweat doesn't just sit there. It travels away from your body to the outer layers. And that's the golden rule, moving moisture from your skin to the outside. It followed perfectly here. Alright, so now comes the big question. When do you actually use this layer? To be honest, I don't really wear it while I'm hiking. I have a different job for it. I mostly use it in the camp, before sleep. When I crawl into my sleeping bag, I don't go it naked. I am wearing this fleece layer. Let me explain. When a manufacturer gives a comfort temperature for a sleeping bag, they always assume you will be wearing a base layer. You are not supposed to be naked. The same logic applies here. The fleece works great with the sleeping bag. Of course, you could wear it while walking, but personally I don't. I just sweat a lot and it gets too hot for me. Let's shift gear for a minute and talk about summer shorts. Check out these UF Pro tactical shorts. Let's quickly go over what they have got. They have wide belt loops, and you can easily thread your tactical belt through them, no problem at all. Another cool feature is a special soft pad in the lower back area. Now about the pockets. Up front you've got your two standard pockets, and on the sides two large ones. They are so roomy that a wallet with documents fits in there easily. But honestly, they are designed for a refill magazine. These large pockets are really well designed, nothing jiggles around inside them. They are not too big and not too small, just right for military shorts. There are also two hiding pockets. They're a bit smaller. I usually carry my small knife in one of them, super handy. And here is another important thing. The front material is super tough. It's very unlikely you will tear it. On the front, all the hardware is really secure. You won't tear anything off. But the back part is made from this stretchy fabric. I haven't seen any other brand use this kind of fabric. Because of it, you can bend over, squat down without anything pitching or restricting you. Total freedom of movement. Everything in these shirts is just really well thought out. The quality of the materials is simply the best on the market. The buttons, the zippers, it's all perfect. On the front, all the hardware is really secure. The shirts are super reliable, made for actual military use. Let's take a closer look at these shirts. Here is what I like about UF Pro. They think of everything. These special loops, they're for a battle belt. So you can wear a regular belt or you can use a battle belt. And this is the rear panel, like a padding. It prevents chafing. Also a super handy feature. Haven't seen this on anyone else's gear. In practice, it has proven itself to be the best. The elastic material in the back. Everything works great. Functions perfectly, very comfortable. And of course, the large pockets. They are also really convenient to use. You can fit pretty large items in there. There are tons of ways to use these shirts. Everything is great, everything is awesome. For my opinion, for hiking and trekking, these are the best shorts out there. I'm sure of it. I wear them all the time and they have never let me down. Alright, we've talked about the first layer of clothing, the second, insulating layer. We discussed the shorts, now let's move on to pants. Pants on a hike are super important. A really crucial piece of gear, because they need to perform several functions. First, pants have to be comfortable to wear, meaning they shouldn't chafe anywhere or restrict your movement. Second, pants must protect your lower body. Let me explain in more detail what I mean. So, I'm wearing the P40 All-Terrain Generation 2 pants from UF Pro. Now I tell you about all the advantages of these pants. Let's start from the top and go down. The material these pants are made from is very durable. And as you can see right here, I cut them a little, and in this spot too, under the belt. But that was my fault. I cut them while carrying an axe. There are 2 standard pockets and 2 large side pockets. There are also these quick access pockets on the sides. They don't have a zipper, so you can immediately just slip your hand in and take out or put in what you need. A very handy solution. Now about the side pockets with zippers. A wallet with documents fit in here easily. But again, just like with the shorts, these are designed for refill magazines. And here is this cool feature, an additional zipper. It allows you to open the pocket when you are in a sitting position. So, if you can't reach an item in your pocket, this zipper helps you out. I can't say I use this function often, but it's there. Next, there are 2 additional small pockets. They are perfect for a multi-tool or a flashlight. I, for example, carry a knife in one of them. So you end up with 3 side pockets on each leg. The back of the pants, again, is made of elastic material, just like the shorts. And it's a perfect fit. You can really do anything in these pants, and they don't get in the way at all. One thing to note about this elastic part in the back, it doesn't provide warmth. So I always use an insulating mat when I want to sit down, to avoid health issues. So you see, in gear it's very important that all elements are coordinated with each other. Let me tell you a real-life story about how these UF Pro pants actually helped me in a real situation. I was walking through an old house in the middle of nowhere, so I was checking this house out, and when I got to the back side, there were a lot of leaves on the ground. I couldn't see where I was stepping. You know, it was late autumn already. So I took another step, and hiding among those leaves, there was a piece of rebar. It was sticking out of the ground just like that, and I didn't see it. And because the fabric of these pants is so dense, it actually stopped the rebar. It just didn't go all the way through into my leg. That's why I put such a big emphasis on protection and the quality of pants. The next cool feature of these pants is the protected knees. And the way they're done, it's really smart. Unlike other tactical pants, these have special additional zippers, so it creates like a dedicated pocket for these knee pads. The knee pads themselves are made of a flexible material. On its own, it bends easily, it's very soft. But the moment you put pressure on it, or for example, kneels down hard, it absorbs that impact, and your knees stay safe and sound. Now you might ask, why even need knee protection in the forest? It's not like we are on a construction site or in a combat zone. Well, it's actually simple. The thing is, during a hike, you often need to work on the ground, to pick something up, put something down, start a fire. There are so many situations. And in those moments, especially if the ground is cold or muddy, then knee pads, knee protection is just a must-have. Because if you injure your knee, you know the knee is a really fragile joint actually. If you hurt your knees during a long trek, that is it. Consider your trip over. Your knee won't heal quickly. The pain will last a long time. You won't be able to walk. So the whole question of your survival, well, it becomes a real problem. That's why, if we are talking about real survival, then every single detail matters, and that includes protecting your knees. Next up, these pants have special attachments for your boots. Here is how it looks. I've shown before how I use my gaiters with my boots. So here is the leg protection system. First, there is a trekking sock. Then I put on the gaiters and attach them to the boot laces. And after that, on top, I use this special attachment on the pants and also secure the pants on the boot laces. The result is a double layer of protection for my legs. This way, I am completely sure that no dirt will get inside the boot and no small pebbles will get in to rub against my feet. And this whole system works really well. No matter what I'm doing, I can squat, I can move around. The pant leg itself stays neatly in the place and returns to its original position even after squatting down. Actually, UF Pro company has different lines of pants. You know, pants for different needs. I've worn their poor military pants, call it the combat ones. Also a great piece of kit. Absolutely fantastic pants for military purpose. I think they are the best pants out there. But for hiking they are a bit too heavy. So I settled on this, my current pant. It's a more civilian-oriented version. Next, let's talk about the belt I use. It's a tactical belt with a Cobra buckle. It's a licensed buckle that can handle 2 tons of weight breaking straight. The belt itself is made of super durable nylon. The belt is very easy to adjust, everything is as simple and reliable as it gets. One of the cool features of this belt is this D-ring. I use it all the time with a carabiner like this one, and I hang my gloves on it. Of course, you can attach literally any carabiner here. For example, to use it for some basic climbing purposes. It's a fantastic feature overall. The main thing is that it's extremely reliable. And finally, another cool thing that comes with these pants is the internal insulated liner. It's like an extra layer you can add. Inside the pants there is a special zipper specifically for attaching this liner. It's an awesome feature, really. It blocks the wind completely and doesn't get wet. It doesn't restrict your movement at all. It doesn't get in the way when you squat or need to run fast. You can perform any kind of activity while wearing it. The whole point is, this extra layer, this liner, fixes the issue I mentioned before. You know, because of the stretchy material on the back, if you sit on a cold surface, you'd get cold right away. Well, with this liner, that problem is solved immediately. Plus, anyone who has worn the base insulating layer, the second layer we talked about, knows, no matter what layer you choose, it always gets in the way a little. But this liner is just fits seamlessly and acts like an extension of the pants. You really don't even feel it when you are wearing the pants with it. And again, I haven't seen any other manufacturer with a feature like this. That is why I think these are simply the best pants you can choose on the market. Basically, I covered everything I find important about these pants. So, we are done with the pants and now we are moving on the upper body gear. The next insulating layer I use is a fleece sweatshirt from Patagonia, the R1 Air Fleece. It's a classic sweatshirt and I think this Air Fleece is the ideal material for this layer. One of the main features of this sweatshirt is the long zipper. It goes down to the mid-chest and allows me to cool down quickly if I get too hot and sweaty. That is super handy on a trek. Honestly, I really like the company Patagonia. They make super high quality and well thought out gear. For example, in this sweatshirt, these areas on the sleeves are reinforced to make it easier to put on and take off. There is the same kind of reinforcement at the bottom, but the real star of the show is this material, this Air Fleece. It's made in this zigzag pattern. And in my opinion, it's just perfect. It provides warmth on one hand, and on the other it breathes really well. Actually, Patagonia has involved in developing fleece material originally, so they really know how to make quality fleece items. I had a heavier Patagonia fleece before, but it felt too warm for me. It just didn't suit me because I sweat a lot. But this specific R1 Air Fleece sweatshirt fits the bill perfectly. That's why I recommend it to everyone. Of course, again, this is all very individual. It all depends on how easily you get cold, how much you sweat. So maybe a heavier version of this sweatshirt made from regular fleece would suit you better. Or maybe it would be too much for you, just like it was for me. It all comes down to your physiology, your activity level. How active are you in the forest? How much distance you cover in a day? And in general, if you like going out into nature just to relax, this is one situation. But if you are on a serious trek and your goal is to cover as much distance as possible per day, that is a completely different story. So, in any case, you always need to consider what layers of clothing are you wearing. Because I have another additional insulating layer that I'll talk about next. This is my extra insulating layer. I use it when there is hard frost outside, or when I stop for a long time at camp. I'm talking about my vest from Carinthia. It's super lightweight vest that uses G-Loft as insulation. It has a fully stretchable zipper and 2 standard side pockets. Again, there is nothing extra here. Everything is maximally rational and well designed. For me, its main advantage is its incredibly low weight. There is also an additional pocket, but honestly I never use it. One of the key smart design choices in this vest is its length. You can see now that it's a bit shorter than the Patagonia sweatshirt. This is very convenient because when you put a winter jacket on top, this vest won't get in the way or block access to your belt, which I find very important. The second cool feature is these side panels made of elastic material. They provide necessary ventilation. And as you will see later, this combines very well with my jacket. Thanks to this ventilation, the vest warms you where needed, while simultaneously drawing away excess heat and moisture from areas where you sweat the most. It's a very good vest. I often use it when it gets really cold outside. But here is one thing, I never wear it as an outer layer. Even though it's made from great materials, I still find it quite fragile and delicate. It has ripstop fabric all around, but this fabric is too thin, plus it could easily get burned by a campfire. So I only wear it when I already have a jacket on, meaning I wear it under a jacket, so the vest itself is hidden under a more durable shell. And that is really great is how nicely it packs into a backpack. It takes up almost no space. It's very convenient and it weighs practically nothing. It's that extra insulation layer you can always take with you. One that doesn't take up volume or cause any hassle during transport. So, even when choosing between a heavy fleece and my combination, the Patagonia Air Fleece and this vest, I'd rather take the lightweight Patagonia Air Fleece and supplement it with this vest. This way I have more options during a trek. I can always combine layers. And in terms of weight and volume, I lose practically nothing, but I gain much more versatility. This is a crucial point. Many people, when considering clothing layers, know they exist and thoroughly understand how they should work. But I often see that people don't know or account for the fact that layers must also be chosen correctly depending on your activity level. It's one thing if you are sitting still, then even a light frost you will still get cold if you are not moving. It's another thing if you have a 25 kilos backpack and you are walking through the forest all day, then you will be sweating, you will get wet. And the clothing layer you should use while walking will be drastically different from that you use, for example, at a campsite. This is something you constantly need to keep in mind. And with this video I want to show that this combination I'm showing, this variation of layers, the more options you have, the better it is for you. Because for every specific situation, if you have many possibilities, you can choose the optimal option for yourself. So always remember this key rule. Besides the clothing layers themselves, their correct order and selection, You must always consider your activity level. And remember, there is absolutely nothing wrong with realizing you're wearing too much clothing during a hike. Just stop for a couple of minutes, take off the extra layers, quickly pack them into your backpack and move on. That's a normal situation, and it's much better to do that than to march on sweating and getting tired when it's completely unnecessary. That's why it's always better to have a good variety of different layers. The next layer I use is a tactical jacket from UF Pro. It's not an all-season jacket, meaning it's not for deep winter, more for spring and autumn. Here too, everything is extremely well thought out. The jacket has a tailored fit. It sits very well and is really comfortable. Again, there are ventilation panels on the sides. This is a soft-shell jacket, and it doesn't have a membrane. It won't hold up in very heavy rain, but I'll talk more about that a bit later. On each sleeve there are two pockets, one down by the wrist and the second one on the shoulder, plus two standard pockets. There are these elastic ventilation panels running from the armpits down the sides of the jacket. And now I'll show you these side ventilation panels up close. This ventilation panel is made of two materials, an outer mesh and an inner finishing element. First off, this thing stretches really well. And secondly, it holds up perfectly during use. I've had this jacket for 2 years now, and there isn't even a hint of wear here. That means the material is very high quality. Actually, jackets from this company, UF Pro, they make super high quality gear for the military. Now I want to explain why I don't use jackets with membrane. Membranes are a really popular topic, especially among mountain hikers. Everyone talks about the unique properties of a membrane. On one hand, it protects from rain and wind, and on the other, it lets moisture and vapor escape from your body. But honestly, I think it's a hugely overrated concept. If you look into membranes carefully and in detail, you will realize there are a lot of limitations to their use. As soon as you produce more vapor than the membrane can handle, condensation forms on the inside. The more condensation, the thicker the water film becomes. The membrane effectively turns back into an expensive piece of plastic. Until that film disappears, your sweat remains trapped inside. So, essentially, you are buying a very expensive jacket that you could realistically replace with a simple $20 poncho. Also, there is this point. When do you actually need a membrane? Are you planning to hike during the rain? Well, typically I don't do this. If I see rain starting, I try to set up camp immediately, take shelter under a tarp and wait for the rain to stop. If it's heavy, pouring rain, no membrane will help you anyway. I fundamentally don't buy membrane gear because I don't see any sense in it. It's a waste of money. On the other hand, for winter boots with a membrane, no question there. It's very useful. Especially when walking in snow, a membrane is truly necessary and does its job excellently. The same goes for tents. Carinthia has great tents like the Observer, a single-person tent made entirely of Gore-Tex. In that case, yes, it's a fantastic piece of gear, but they're extremely expensive. Now let's talk about the winter jacket from UF Pro. It's made from heavier-duty materials. The outer layer is protected from wind and moisture. On each sleeve there are also two pockets, one on the lower arm and one upper arm. And on the sides you have elastic ventilation panels. Everything fits very comfortably, allowing for maximum freedom of movement. Let's take a closer look at all the features of this jacket. On the back and also on the shoulders there are these special elastic panels. They are made of a soft material and are positioned exactly in the areas that make contact with a backpack. This is done to reduce the load on your back and shoulders when you are carrying a heavy pack. The outer material of the jacket itself is very durable. I've been using it for a long time and believe me, it's been through a lot of tough use, yet it still looks almost new. Now on the inside. Inside there is a liner made of specially treated merino wool, plus it uses G-Loft material as insulation. There are special reinforcements made of cordura on the sleeves. This is practically the same kind of reinforcement panel used on the knees of those pants. I'll show you later how useful this is. I really appreciate how much thought they put into this jacket. I mean, everything is made to be as efficient as possible and as comfortable as possible. So this is how the jacket looks with a backpack on. As you can see, the special elastic panels I showed you earlier are placed exactly where the shoulder straps put pressure. This is very important for me because usually when I go on a hike, it's for several days and I carry a heavy pack. So for my needs, this jacket is just a perfect fit. Now I want to show how and why the reinforced Cordura pads are used. At any moment, a situation might arise where you need to crawl somewhere. This is mostly a military application, of course, but it can also happen on a hike. And it's much better to have a reliable, durable fabric in the areas that make contact with the ground, because there could be sharp rocks or branches underneath. These special reinforcements allow you to crawl around without any issues. At the same time, the chest area isn't protected at all. That is because it's assumed you will be wearing a ballistic vest over it. But again, that's purely the military use. Now I want to give a brief explanation of why I think military-grade clothing is best suited for trekking and bushcraft. In our fields, like electronics, IT, the military constantly uses the best and latest technology. That's a fact, it's hard to argue with. So the same trend is observed in military clothing. But it's important to distinguish here. There is gear mass-produced for regular soldiers. When you have hundreds of thousands of soldiers, it's simply not economically feasible to issue top-tiered clothing or footwear to each one. So standard military gear is good, it's reliable, no question, but it's still not premium. It's a different story when we talk about special forces. These are the guys you see in promotional videos or covered special OPS groups. These guys use only the most elite gear available. And no civilian company, no outdoor recreation brand will ever make pants or a jacket that surpasses the quality of those firms working under the military contracts. For one simple reason, their budgets are essentially unlimited. Consequently, governments pour massive resources into developing their equipment to ensure they are the best. Therefore, companies that secure these contracts can leverage their full technological arsenal. That is the reason I choose military clothing designed for special forces. For example, Salomon boots are used by the US military. The company UF Pro supplies this gear to European Special Forces units. This immediately brings up the question of price. For instance, pants from the famous brand 511 will cost 2, maybe 3 times less than pants from UF Pro. But if you get the combat version of pants from UF Pro, the 511 pants are not even in the same league. You can't even compare them. This is the logic I follow when choosing clothing for trekking and bushcraft. Because serious trekking and serious mountaineering are not that different in their demands from military operations. You are still moving through mountains and forests, carrying a heavy load and endures the same physical stresses as professional soldiers. The final layer I use is a poncho from Helikon-Tex, called the Swagman Roll. I carry it in this tough sack with a clap. It compresses down really small and doesn't take up much space. In shape, it's a regular poncho, but it's made with an insulating layer. It has a great insulating hood, and in the bottom there are special drawstrings you can use to secure the poncho closer to your body, so it doesn't flap around. In my opinion, this Swagman Roll is one of the best gear purchases I've ever made. It's a super versatile piece of kit. You can look online. People use it as a ground sheet, a shelter, even a sleeping bag. But I use it for its intended purpose, as a poncho, because I think it's perfectly designed for this. First, it's very comfortable to move in. It doesn't restrict your movement at all. Second, the manufacturers did a great job by including a large chest pocket where you can put your phone or small items like gloves, for example. At the same time, there is absolutely nothing extra. Just a zipper, a fastener, a front pocket. Nothing gets in the way at the back. It's all super comfortable. But the most important thing is, I found that I think is the most comfortable combination. As you can see, I don't use heavy winter jackets with lots of insulation. Why? Because I try to keep moving a lot during my hikes. I cover long distances, and if I walk in a warm, heavy jacket, first, it's cumbersome, and second, I sweat way too much. The real problem isn't sweating while I'm moving. The problem is when you stop and you are wet with sweat. The moment you stop, you get cold immediately. The wind quickly blows away the warm air layer around you, and that moisture that hasn't had time to evaporate starts to freeze. The temperature drops and your body cools down because you are not moving. The result is an effect where, because you are wet, you freeze even with a warm jacket on. So I went a different road. While I'm moving, even in very cold winter, I typically just wear a t-shirt, the base layer, sometimes a vest, and on top this winter jacket from UF Pro. So I wear few layers to avoid sweating. But as soon as I arrived at a campsite or set up camp, I immediately take out this Swagman Roll poncho and put it on over everything, including the hood. This creates an extra air layer. All the moisture that has built up inside my clothing can easily escape and evaporate. And I stay warm because the poncho creates a cocoon around me that's completely windproof and filled with insulation. As we discussed earlier, layering isn't just about the levels themselves. It's not enough to just choose the right types of layers. You also need to choose what to wear right now for the specific activity you are doing. I had a situation once in the winter. I was hiked in the mountains, hiking uphill with a very heavy backpack. It was daytime, but because of the altitude, the sun was providing much heat, and it was hot at all. I almost felt like stripping down to my t-shirt. So I was hiking in just my base layer t-shirt and my winter jacket. But the moment I stopped and it started to get a little eveningish, the sun went down behind the mountains, it got cold immediately. It was winter after all. Literally 30 seconds after I stopped, I started to freeze. I instantly threw this poncho on over everything. And that was it. The situation completely changed. I felt warm right away. I dried out from the sweat and I warmed up. Later, I made some tea on my stove, so everything was fine. In short, I recommend this poncho to everyone. It's a seriously convenient and useful piece of gear. I assure you, it will definitely come in handy for you. This poncho is also completely waterproof. I don't need any jacket with membranes. If I get caught in the rain and have to keep moving, I just put this poncho on. And there has never been a situation where I got wet. Now let's talk about additional accessories that you will need no matter what. First and foremost, I mean a buff. A buff is a super versatile thing. You can use it as a scarf, a mask to protect your ears, head or throat. It has tons of uses and many different ways to wear it. If it's cool outside and getting colder, I pull it up a bit higher to cover, for example, my ears. But usually I just wear it as a mask. A buff pairs perfectly with a Beanie or a Panama hat. It all depends on how you want to insulate yourself. The most important thing is to buy original products, meaning get them from the buff company specifically, because their manufacturing quality is very high and they use excellent materials. There are Warman versions made from merino wool, from fleece, and there are ones like mine, made from quick-drying fabric. Let me also say a couple of words about the Panama hat. This Panama is again from UF Pro. The top part has ventilation holes covered with mesh. All around the brim of the hat there are additional loops for camouflage. That is if you are using it for military purposes. And what I especially like is that along the edges, both front and back, the Panama has these flexible wire arcs. They allow you to set the shape of the hat to whatever form is convenient for you. Generally, I like wearing a Panama hat because it breaks up the silhouette of your head really well. It's a good piece of camouflage. If it's too cold outside, I level up my insulation and swap the Panama hat for a fleece beanie. It's just a regular fleece beanie, nothing special about it, a cheap, simple hat. This hat also combines perfectly with the buff. You can pull the buff up or down to cover your ears with an extra layer of material. Never forget to take a hat with you. A hat will always come in handy if you think it might get cold. This is especially crucial when you go to sleep, because inside the sleeping bag you still have to breathe outside of it. This means your face is still exposed to the outside environment, and if there is a real frost, it's very easy to get sick, to catch a cold. So I always, when I go to sleep in a real frost, wear both the buff and the insulated hat. Let me show you one of my favorite ways to wear the buff with the hat. I make a balaclava out of the buff, creating a double layer of protection. It covers my throat, nose and ears. Basically, never neglect these small details related to the risk of catching a cold. One wrong move and you woke up the next morning, maybe not with a fever, but still tired, not well rested, not recovered. Moving on will be much harder. This is why a hat and the buff are always with me. I carry them in the top pockets of my jacket. I can take out or put away both the buff and the hat at any moment. Why do I choose a lightweight fleece hat specifically? Because it weighs nothing, takes up no space in the backpack, but the benefit you get from it is enormous. If there is very strong wind, I'll obviously put the poncho with its hood on over everything, and that solves the cold problem for me 100%. Honestly, I can't recall a single time on a trek when this hat wasn't enough for me. Much more often, other parts of my body got cold. So I don't see any point of all taking some heavy, super warm hat. A regular fleece hat performs its functions perfectly. The next very important piece of gear that many people forget is glasses. I wear sport glasses with photochromic lenses. They let me use one pair of glasses in a very wide range of conditions, meaning the tint of these lenses changes depending on how much sunlight there is and its intensity. You need glasses for two main reasons. First, it protects your eyes when you are walking through a forest and might snap a branch back into your face. So you are just protecting your eyes. And the second reason is for strong wind. When you're hiking in the mountains and there is a strong wind, it's very difficult without glasses. I'm talking about the mountain hike when you ascend to a summit, even a not very high one, where will definitely be strong wind, and you just need their protection to be able to see normally. Wherefore, glasses are an essential piece of equipment. My advice is to look for glasses models that are used by the military. There are tactical combat glasses available. They come at various price points from different manufacturers. So choose a model that fits your budget, but make sure it has the key features: durability and photochromic lenses. You know, ones that won't break if you accidentally drop them. Again, I advise against falling for trendy, popular brands that inflate prices for glasses to astronomical levels. Often the quality doesn't live up to the hype. Instead, look at options used by professional military personnel. That will be smartest and most reliable choice. The next super important piece of gear is gloves. Remember this, in any situation, no matter what anyone tells you on those popular YouTube life hack videos, you must always have gloves with you. One pair of winter gloves and one pair of summer gloves. I carry my gloves using a carabiner. I clip the carabiner to the D-ring on my belt. That way, they are always within reach. It's very convenient to grab them at any moment. No matter what you're doing, hiking with poles, chopping or sawing wood, setting up camp, always carry gloves with you. Because if you injure your hands on a hike, get a cut or a blister, it will make your entire trip much more difficult. Gloves cannot be replaced by anything else. They are a must-have essential piece of gear. Which glove should you choose? The Mechanix, without doubt. It's almost not even worth commenting on. I have a lightweight model designed specifically for summer. They are very comfortable for handling equipment because the material is thin and doesn't reduce your finger dexterity. That's very convenient, especially when handling equipment, is that you don't scrape or burn your hands, yet you retain full finger sensitivity. This is very important for me, because my hands sweat a lot, especially in summer. I can't wear thick gloves. They become uncomfortable immediately. But in these summer gloves, the feeling is just perfect. They are also very useful on long hikes. If you are walking 10-20 kilometers with trekking poles, no matter how good the grips are, you will still chafe your fingers. So gloves are essential here. Otherwise, you will get blisters on the first day, and by the second day you won't be able to use the poles. In short, the summer gloves are brilliant. I recommend them to everyone. And I have a winter model with insulation. They are thicker, of course, but they work great to protect my hands from the cold when there is frost outside. It's very important to have good winter gloves, because one of the main problems you will face on a long winter hike is your hands getting cold. It happens differently for everyone, but the bottom line is this. With frozen fingers, you can't do anything at all. You can't use any of your other gear if you can't feel your fingers from the cold. This is why it's also crucial to have well-chosen equipment in general. Well, that's basically all the gear I wanted to tell you about. And now let's move on to the most interesting part. I'm going to show you in practice how I layer up piece by piece. Alright, let's get started. We will skip the full summer setup where I'm just wearing shorts and a t-shirt. That's pretty self-explanatory. It's extremely hot outside, so I wear the lightest possible clothing. Let's jump straight to a scenario where it's a bit cooler outside. And let's remember, all these setups are for when you are active and moving. As you can see, I am wearing my first layer, a t-shirt and boxers. On top of that, I have my Patagonia fleece and my tactical pants. Also, no matter what, I always have my buff around my neck and my gloves hooked on a carabiner. Plus, I am wearing my Panama hat in case the sun gets strong, to keep my head from overheating. Next setup. It's gotten even cooler outside, so I've swapped my Patagonia fleece for my all-season jacket. Everything else remains the same. I've just added a bit more insulation on top. It's been cooler outside now, so I am adding the Patagonia fleece back into the mix. So the layering is base layer of a t-shirt and boxers, then the Patagonia fleece, and then the jacket on top. Everything else stays the same. It's gotten even cooler outside, so here is the next setup. This time I swapped the all-season jacket for the warmer winter jacket. So the layers are base layer, then the Patagonia fleece, and then the winter jacket on top. Everything else stays exactly the same. The temperature has dropped even further. I swapped to winter gloves. Instead of the Panama hat, I am wearing a fleeced hat. On the bottom, I now have the insulated liner for the pants. And between the Patagonia fleece and the winter jacket, I've added the Carinthia vest. And it's important to note, the vest is not the outer layer here, as I mentioned before. Now I'm very well insulated, and this combination will be sufficient for walking in 90% of weather conditions you will encounter. At this stage, everything has been taken into account. The logic between the layers is fully respected. Also, my movement isn't restricted. I can move freely with a heavy backpack. Furthermore, I can kneel down, fall or crawl at any moment, because my knees and elbows are protected. And now the most extreme setup using the Swagman Roll poncho. As you can see, it doesn't restrict my movement with the backpack at all. I can move my arms freely, squat, bend over. My range of motion isn't limited in any way. But at the same time, I have maximum protection from wind, moisture and cold. This setup is designed for the harshest conditions and lowest temperatures. What's also important is that at any moment, if I get too hot, I can easily take this poncho off, and that's very convenient on a trek because it doesn't take much time. Well, in this video I've told you about all the elements and all the clothing layers that I use myself and have tested through my own experience. Let's summarize the key takeaways. First, always choose your layers wisely, so that one layer doesn't prevent another from moving moisture from your body to the outside. Remember that you need to structure and plan your layers both for walking, for intense movement, and for times when you are at rest, because your heat output changes depending on your activity level. The more layers you have available, the more versatile you are on a trek. Avoid using heavy wool items, like those sweaters your grandma knitted, because that kind of clothing isn't suitable for hiking. Remember that a membrane isn't always the best choice, even though it's advertised everywhere. And don't forget about the small details, because they are the foundation everything else relies on. Jumbo Brothers, stay tuned.